Today we're going to discuss one of the most auspicious transits for Pisces Ascendant in the coming years, Jupiter moving into Cancer for Pisces natives. This is not just a good transit, it is a rare alignment where your identity lord and career lord becomes exalted in your house of intelligence, creativity and children. This transit connects knowledge, creativity, career growth and spiritual renewal into one powerful chapter. If you have Pisces rising in your birth chart, this video will help you understand the timing, the blessings and the mature responsibility that comes with this opportunity. We will walk through the exact timeline, the house mechanics, the major life areas affected and how to work with this energy wisely. Jupiter enters Cancer in stages. The first brief preview begins around October 18th, 2025, when Jupiter dips into Cancer for about 7 weeks. During this window, you may feel a spark of inspiration around education, creativity, children, or romance. But then Jupiter turns retrograde and returns to Gemini on December 5th, 2025. This pullback is important. It asks you to rework your emotional foundations, home situation, and inner stability before the full blessing can settle. The main transit begins on June 2026, when Jupiter re-enters Cancer and stays through late October 2026. There is an unusual acceleration this cycle, meaning Jupiter moves faster than usual. After a brief exit into Leo and another retrograde, Jupiter returns to Cancer from late January 2027 through June 26, 2027. Think of this as a 3-act story: preview, foundation repair, and then manifestation. The 2025 preview shows you the idea. The Gemini pullback forces you to fix the emotional base. The 2026 and 2027 chapters bring the idea into form. To understand why this transit matters so deeply for Pisces, look at the house map. Cancer is your 5th house, the domain of intelligence, education, creativity, romance, children, mantra, and past merit. Jupiter rules your 1st house of self and body and your 10th house of career, reputation, and public contribution. So when Jupiter moves into Cancer, your identity and career karma enter the house of creative intelligence. This is not a generic transit. Jupiter is exalted here, which means it has maximum strength and capacity to deliver its significations. The 5th house is also a trinal house of grace, so the natural support is already present. From Cancer, Jupiter casts its 5th aspect onto Scorpio, which is your 9th house of fortune, dharma, teachers, and higher learning. It casts its 7th aspect onto Capricorn, your 11th house of gains, networks, and desire fulfillment. And it casts its 9th aspect back onto Pisces itself, your 1st house of self and vitality. This creates a powerful triangle. The 5th house is occupied, while the 9th, 11th, and 1st houses are all activated by aspect. Knowledge and creativity become the channel through which you regain direction, attract support, and open fortune. Education and learning are among the strongest domains. Jupiter is the natural significator of wisdom, and the 5th house governs study. Whether you're a student, teacher, or returning learner, this transit pushes you to formalize knowledge. Casual interest becomes enrollment, certification, mentoring, or publishing. Higher education, research, counselling, law, finance, philosophy, and language-based fields are especially favoured. Children and pregnancy are repeatedly highlighted. The 5th house is the primary house of children, and Jupiter is the natural significator for offspring. If your natal chart supports it, this can be a strong window for conception, childbirth, or seeing your children flourish. Even where there is delay, the transit can bring the right guidance, doctor, or emotional readiness. Romance and emotional joy also awaken. The Lagna Lord, exalted in the 5th house, makes you more expressive, charismatic, and open to meaningful connection. This favours relationships that form through study, spiritual circles, creative communities, or shared ideals. It is more likely to produce emotionally meaningful romance than casual attraction because Jupiter in Cancer seeks safety and compatibility. Creativity and public expression become a major career doorway. Since Jupiter is your 10th lord sitting in the 5th, your creative intelligence becomes professional output. Teaching, writing, podcasting, video education, counselling, finance, and artistic work with a message are all excellent channels. Do not wait for career luck to appear from outside. Your own knowledge, voice, and creative intelligence become the lever. Career status and wealth gained through merit and visibility, promotions, role elevation, launching courses, entering consulting, or taking on advisory roles are all supported. Jupiter also aspects your 11th house of gains, which helps income through networks, elder siblings, patronage, and audience growth. Speculative gains are possible, but only when backed by research and discipline. Emotional gambling or blind optimism can backfire. Spirituality and dharma become highly active because Jupiter aspects your 9th house of higher learning and your 1st house of self. Mantra, scripture study, pilgrimage, and teacher connection are all favoured. This is not vague escapism. Saturn in Pisces means your practice must become structured, disciplined, and embodied. The spiritual result is maturity and transformation, not just comfort. Health and confidence also improve. Jupiter's 9th aspect back to your ascendant supports vitality, optimism, and self-direction. If Saturn has been making you feel heavy or delayed, Jupiter gives meaning and morale. The one caution is that Jupiter and Cancer can increase water and earth tendencies, so watch for emotional eating, weight gain, or lethargy. The solution is discipline, nourishment, and routine, not denial. There is an important counterweight. Saturn is transiting Pisces during this period, which means your ascendant is under slow planet pressure. Saturn can bring heaviness, identity testing, emotional fatigue, career restructuring, and responsibility around health and boundaries. Jupiter does not erase Saturn, instead it gives meaning and guidance to the pressure. Emotional heaviness can become disciplined spiritual practice, career confusion can become a more meaningful direction, boundary weakness can become maturity, the old identity dissolves into a wiser self-concept, creative or educational work becomes the relief valve for Saturn's pressure. This is why the transit can feel both blessed and serious. You may not feel light all the time, you may feel called. The blessing is not indulgence, the blessing is direction, and direction requires discipline. The transit unfolds through 3 nakshatra phases. At entry, Jupiter passes through Punarvasu, which carries themes of return, restoration, and second chances. This can reopen paused creative projects, old study tracks, or child-related discussions that first appeared in late 2025. From around June 18 to mid-August 2026, Jupiter enters Pushya, one of the most auspicious nakshatras. This phase supports nourishment, mentorship, disciplined study, and receiving support from teachers or institutions. The deepest exaltation zone also falls early in Cancer, making this a peak window. Note that Jupiter is combust from roughly July 18 to August 11, 2026. This does not cancel the transit, but it can internalize it. Use that window for study, planning, and quiet devotion, rather than forcing public outcomes. From around mid-August through late October 2026, Jupiter moves through Ashlesha. This phase shifts towards strategy, research, persuasion, negotiation, and psychologically complex work. It is less innocent than Pushya, and it carries a sharper, more penetrating quality. For Pisces Ascendant, this can favour deep study, business strategy, occult subjects, and psychologically complex creative work. Use it for strategy, not scheming, for research, not obsession, for persuasive teaching, not emotional control. The strongest results come when your natal chart and current planetary period support Jupiterian themes. Jupiter Dasha or Sub-Dasha brings the most direct and personal experience. Moon Dasha is also powerful because the moon rules Cancer. If you have planets placed in Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, or Pisces, their Dasha can trigger significant events during this transit. A strong natal Jupiter in your birth chart delivers cleaner results, confidence, teachers, educational success, and creative breakthroughs. A strong moon helps the transit deliver emotional satisfaction, fertility support, and mental peace. If both your ascendant and moon sign are Pisces, this transit becomes much more personally intense, affecting both your outer life and inner emotional world. If natal Jupiter is afflicted, the transit still helps, but it acts more like a teacher. It may expose overconfidence, scattered judgment, teacher issues, or speculative carelessness before it rewards humility and correction still. Because transit Jupiter is exalted, the period can provide solutions if you are willing to learn and adjust. The exaltation gives high capacity, but your willingness to receive the teaching determines the outcome. To work with this transit wisely, study seriously and teach what you know, seek mentors, build a creative discipline, and be thoughtful with romance and financial speculation. Support children and students in your life. Avoid arrogance, overpromising, and emotional gambling. The doorway is open, but you must walk through it with discipline, humility, and intelligent timing. Remember, no transit overrides your natal promise or your current planetary period. This transit gives the strongest results when your chart supports Jupiterian themes. But even if your chart is more challenging, exalted Jupiter tends to protect, educate, and correct. The blessing may come through responsibility, review, or delayed outcomes rather than effortless luck. The message is clear: become a student and a teacher simultaneously. Learn deeply, express cleanly, guide others, and let your career growth come through wisdom rather than force.